We'll call the meeting to order. And do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That passes. And the next thing we're going to have is the council liaison update, please.
Good evening, everybody. I hope we enjoyed the time off with the last meeting that we did not have. That gave us a little bit more time to fit in a little bit more summer that we're unfortunately soon coming to the end of, as much as we don't like it. But so my report. New playground equipment will be coming soon to the Booster West Park, including a kid-sized zip line. So I've seen some pictures of this, and it's not like an elaborate, dangerous zip line. It's kind of a new, popular design that I guess kids have really liked, from what I've been told. So that would be a good addition to the Booster West. The barndominiums ordinance that we discussed was passed by council. A member of the council reduced the lot size restriction that planning recommended for the 14-foot sidewalls. The fire station will have the garage floors redone with a new floor product that should last a long time. It's similar to the epoxy and the chips that you put down on your garage floors. It's a similar product to that, but for industrial, and will hold up to the use by the fire engines and the heavyweights that they produce. So that's been a long time coming for that. Some members of council were interested in the city purchasing the property on the northwest corner of Sims and 65 that is currently up for sale. That sale or agreements did fall through though, and will not be happening. That was proposed as potentially, if we get the state bonding for the water tower in that area, that property may have some benefit towards that. That was the reasoning towards pursuing a purchase of that property. The council approved a study approved a request for proposals for a city facility needs study. The RFP is just to get quotes, but this study would review current city buildings for any needs and forecast what buildings the city may need in the future, such as an additional fire station. So if the council decides to go forward with this, with a business that does these studies, then they would go through City Hall, the community centers, the fire stations, maintenance buildings, see if they need any updates to them, and then forecast any needs that the city may have based upon size and population. That statistics would show that in the future that there may be a need for, say, a fire department in a certain area, and with that, the city can start planning at the very least to start putting some funds aside or something to maybe facilitate that in the future.
Is that something that's up for bid then?
The RFP, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So any business that does these types of studies can submit a quote for the city.
And how long is the RFP open for?
How long is it open for?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think that there is a date. Usually it's open for a month or two, and then or until we get a certain amount of quotes that we'd have a good round number to make a decision with. We have a fall town hall meeting coming up. That'll be on Thursday, November 13th, starting at 6 p.m. at the senior center next door. Then at 7 p.m. We transition into the chambers here and have Q&A with the public and council. That's pretty much all I have. Do you have any questions or comments?
Oh, that's a city facility needs study. What sort of standard or specification or metrics are considered during that, do you know?
That would be developed when we actually, if we actually pick a business that does this, they would propose what they normally do. The city can review that and say, we want this, this, and this, and this done. So at this time, we don't have any metrics in place. It's just to put out the request for proposals to get quotes, just to at least see what it would cost to see if we actually want to pursue it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, if there's nothing else, as always, thank you for your time and your service to our city.
One
Thank
question.
you, Brent.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
of
sorry.
course.
What was the date of the meeting again? November 13th, you said?
Yep, Thursday, November 13th.
Okay, thank you. And you said you're gonna have Q&A, and is this, I'm just unfamiliar with the meeting.
No, it's okay. It will start next door at the senior center at 6 o'clock, and that's more of an informal get-together. Council members will be there along with staff members and other members of the community that have something to share and bring to
Okay.
city. So it's kind of an informal get-together. You can mingle, ask questions, and then at 7 o'clock it transitions here where we actually record it. Council will be saying up here, and we usually have somebody with a microphone, or residents can come up here and ask questions to council.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is advertised on the sign, on that
Yep.
the kiosk sign and stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
And usually some sandwich board signs are put out along some of the county roads, the busier county roads within the city to help advertise it.
Good, so the residents know. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Alrighty. Does anyone have any changes, corrections to the minutes?
I do. Just one, page 4, line 118. I'd like that changed so it reads, Terry noted that he agrees with the need for larger acres for these buildings. So we're adding need for after the, and changing properties to buildings.
Okay. Great. And Grace, you've got that?
Yes.
Okay. Any other changes? No? Okay, so is there a motion to approve the minutes with the changes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes with the changes. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That passes. And the next thing we're gonna have is a public hearing from Troy and Laurie Slater. Okay, Grace?
Good evening, Commissioners. This is a public hearing for variances for the size and number of accessory structures located on property at 22206 Durant Street, Northeast. Troy and Laurie Slater have applied for 2 variances to allow the addition of a 150 by 60 foot or 9,000 square foot accessory structure on their property located at 22206 Durant Street, Northeast. This property is 29.82 acres. It is zoned agricultural and guided rural residential. The property to the west is zoned agricultural, and the properties to the north, east, and south are zoned rural residential. You may remember that this property was rezoned from rural residential to agricultural in March of this year. It is my understanding that staff members working on that project at that time were aware that the applicant may want to construct additional accessory structures in the future, but they did not know the applicant's exact plans. They were unaware of the size of the proposed structure and whether the applicant would be demolishing any of the existing structures before applying for an additional structure. This property currently has 4 existing accessory structures totaling 1,652 square feet. The location of the proposed accessory structure is pictured on the screen with the yellow box on their property. That's an approximation. It would be near the center of their lot lines north and south on that part of their property. This is a request for 2 variances that are required for the construction of the building as proposed. The first variance is for a 5th accessory structure on a single parcel. City Code Section 14-4 Subdivision A limits properties over 5 acres to 4 accessory structures, so a variance is needed to allow a 5th structure. The second variance is for a total accessory structure square footage of 10,652 square feet on a single parcel. This is required again by that same section of the zoning ordinance, which establishes the maximum accessory structure square footage on a single property of this size as 8,760 square feet. So this is an overage of 1,892 square feet on this property being proposed. Both variances are required for the proposed structure to be built as the applicant has requested. It would be possible to grant one variance without granting the other, though the applicant would have to change their plans. If the first variance were granted without the second, the applicant would be able to build a smaller structure that would be under that maximum square footage threshold of 8,760 square feet. If the second variance is granted without the first, the applicant would be able to build that larger structure, but they would have to demolish an existing structure to stay at that 4 accessory structure threshold. This is a sketch that the applicant has provided of the proposed building. It is 60 by 150 feet. I would like to note that agricultural buildings are exempt from the state building code and the city's architectural standards. Agricultural buildings are defined as buildings on agricultural land that are used for cultivation, raising, drying, and storage of agricultural products, along with the storage of machinery used to support agricultural production. Again, these are exempt from building code standards and do not go through building plan review with the city if they are used solely for those agricultural purposes. They cannot be used for personal storage, so this is something that we have added as a condition of approval for these variances, that the structure would not be used for personal storage. Cities may still choose to regulate these types of buildings through their zoning ordinances, even though they are exempt from the building code. East Bethel does exempt agricultural buildings from our architectural standards, but they are still required to comply with the other standards pertaining to accessory structures established in Section 14 of the code. These include square footage and the total number of structures allowed on one property. So that's why this variance is being requested. I would like to also highlight that this building does meet the city's architectural standards, though it does not have to. There are two windows on the side of the building that would face the right-of-way as pictured here. So that does mean that this building would meet those standards, even though it doesn't have to. To evaluate a variance, the burden of proof is on the applicant to show that they have a practical difficulty that can only be remedied by the granting of a variance. We do this through the practical difficulties test. The 3 standards are, first, that the request is reasonable. This evaluates whether the applicant is looking to use the property in a way that is sensible but not authorized by the code. The second standard is that the variance request is due to a unique circumstance on the property that is not caused by the landowner. This is often something like the proximity of a building to a wetland or a septic site or the presence of sloping topography. This is usually the most difficult standard to meet. And that third standard is that the variance, if granted, will not have a negative impact on neighborhood character. So this looks at whether the proposed change will look out of place or out of scale in the surrounding neighborhood. Staff finds that this application does not meet the uniqueness standard, though the Planning Commission could find differently, and we would thus alter the draft resolution. The staff directs the Planning Commission to open the public hearing and make a recommendation to the City Council. Based on the applicant's submission, the contents of the staff report, public testimony, and other evidence, you may recommend approval of both variances if you find that they meet both of the variances meet all 3 standards of the practical difficulties test. If you do not find that both of the variances meet those standards, you may recommend denial of both variances. And if you find that one variance meets those standards and the other does not, you may recommend approval of one variance and denial of the other. Findings of fact for approval and denial have been included in your packet in the draft resolutions. These can be modified. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Grace. Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing for this. Does anyone want to come up to the podium? First of all, that is not Troy Slater or If not, Troy, do you want to come up and say anything about this?
It ain't big enough.
Yeah, big enough? Okay, so if no one's wanting to come up, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and then we'll have our discussion. Okay, and, first of all, I just wanna say that I'm gonna recuse myself from the voting. Grace, do you know if I can be in the discussion but not the voting?
I do not know that.
I believe you can.
Okay,
I mean, from what my past and meetings.
yeah, with Robert's rules.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll, just take it from there then, that I'm gonna recuse myself from the voting since we have a quorum without me. Anybody wanna have any, thoughts?
When I was reading this, I thought, that's a lot of buildings, but I've never had an agricultural operation before. I was looking at the overhead map and I saw there were a few smaller ones kind of smushed together there, what, a 12 by 12, 14 by 14. And so as far as granting the variance for more than 4 buildings, my first thought was, well, if one of the smaller ones was taken care of, I think the addition of this larger one I could see that being okay. I don't know about granting a variance to get the 5th building, just, I guess, I don't know if the landowner just if those buildings are full, if it's just a pain to remove one. So that was something I was wanting to get some more light on. As far as exceeding the maximum square footage by over 1,800 square feet, 9,000 square feet is a massive structure, and I was thinking that it could probably be sized down a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm really not in favor of either one of the variances at this moment, or of recommending them. So that's where I'm at. Has anyone else thought about the number of buildings and thought that if one were added, maybe one could be removed?
Okay, and maybe after the discussion, we might need to call Troy up here if you have some questions, but,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, without having more information as to why the need for this building and
I agree.
the explanation does not justify the reasons that we have to come up with a variance. So there are numerous agricultural properties in East Bethel. I don't know that they've had to get variances to have more buildings or larger square footage, but I don't know the history of that, if that's the case or not. But the main thing is number 2, due to the circumstances unique to the property not created by the landowner. Again, these outbuildings, especially that 10 by 10, is pretty small. I don't know why that needs to stay up, although it's not my property, I don't use it, so, but removing that would take care of the need for additional buildings. The size, I would need more than it's small compared to the 30 acres to be convinced that there's a reason that I'm not aware of, because it was before my time, as to why there's a limit to the square footage. But that's the rules that we have, and I don't see as yet a compelling reason to go beyond that. There may well be one, and that's why we're here.
Okay, Christina, you had some comments?
I would echo Brian, and same thoughts as I guess I'm looking for kind of what the other buildings are being used for, that we need to now have the other building built to take care of. It's just unclear in kind of the variance. I believe the 10 by 10 is exempt because it's a small building, so it's exempt. So I think that's not part of the count, but still. So yeah, I guess I think just to get clarification on what the existing buildings are being utilized for, and then what this new agricultural building is going to be, what it's going to be used for. I believe, is this a bee? This is a bee business, a bee honey business of some sort or something, like I believe when I looked things up of some, so there's some questions that I have. I mean, I feel like in general though, we have some guidance and some specifications as far as how much square foot you can have per acreage. I guess that was set. You're right, we have to follow that. But I mean, in general, as far as like the footprint on the land, it looks acceptable to me. I feel like it looks acceptable. It's not like you're cramming a big building in between the house and some sheds, so it looks very acceptable. So I think I would just need to get some more clarification of what the buildings are going to be utilized for, and understand kind of what we're using this for.
Okay. Corey?
I'm okay with it. It's, to me, the amount of acres and the size of the building, and it's a farm. I truly have no problem with it. I mean, I have a 3-acre lot and the city would approve 2,400 square foot building. That's not even close to comparison, you know? And he's a farmer. He's got a lot more equipment than I do. So I think the site, the layout, the use, it's farming. I'm acceptable to it.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the way I feel.
Yeah, well, and me too. So, I mean, you all know I'm a farmer, and Bruce and I were trying to figure out how many square feet we have on we have 73 acres, so it's a little bit more than Troy's, and we have a lot of square feet on ours. And there's farms all over this city that I'm sure have a lot of square footage on their things. And did they get variances? Did this happen before the code?
Sure.
Like Corey says, it's a farm, and you know, so many people in the city are talking about how wonderful it is to have farms and don't do building developments. And we have a farmer that wants to put up a 9,000 square foot building and put a little bit more than what the code says for square footage. So I'm totally for it, and invested too. You know, Troy's my friend, and he sells honey at our farm stand, so I can't be impartial in the vote, but I can state that I think that it's very, very reasonable for him to have a 9,000 square foot building. You know, he's going to come up and explain why it needs to be 9,000 square feet. But that's my feelings. Troy, would you mind coming up? I'm going to reopen the public hearing. And would you like to talk, or would you just like the people to ask the questions?
I'll answer some questions. You had some on the other buildings?
Yep, so just again, curious on, so just explaining what the other outbuildings
Okay.
are. that you have.
Background of that place is one of the original homesteads of Anoka County. It was homesteaded 2 years after Anoka became a county.
Okay.
And I think only a couple of years before this was a state. So there's some buildings on there with some historical value. I'm not demolishing buildings.
Okay.
In fact, right now, I'm trying to get some people to go through and, it's a phase 1 historical thing that the USDA wants done. So I still don't understand that one yet, but we're working on getting that done. 1 10 by 10 building is a building over top of the old well where the windmill was. Now that well is still being used. Okay. The other buildings are full farming equipment and tack. Bee supplies. I have part of my operation on my bees for extracting in my basement right now, which is kind of a pain in the hind end. So once you put the machinery in this new building and you put 8,000 square bales and you put a couple hundred round bales in there for sale, there's no room left. This building needs to be another 5,000 square feet bigger for me. So we're talking, we got over 1.3 million square feet of land, and we're talking just covering up 9,000 square feet of it. Pretty minimum. If you're gonna lot it off and put buildings in there, houses and stuff, I think we're gonna cover a lot more than 9,000 square feet with driveways, their outbuildings and houses, all that. So, yeah, I guess if that's an issue, it shouldn't be.
Thank you, yes, I was just looking for some understanding, so yes, like I said, the footprint of it, of how you have it laid out, I mean, again, it makes complete sense to me. I just wanted to better understand kind of what your operation was and what the buildings were that were existing, to hear that you have some historical buildings on your property, and you wanna, retain those by all means, I mean, it makes sense to me, so, again, just wanted to, get the picture, get the full picture,
The old
so.
original house is still on the property.
Yeah, I see that, so, yep,
Yeah.
okay, thank you, thank you.
That was all good information that had it been on here, I probably would have addressed this differently, because I would have known what's going on.
I didn't know what to give you guys for as information, I guess I look at it as a agricultural property and what we use it for, and that's agricultural, what we do is our income,
Right.
so.
What you know in your mind doesn't translate to what we know reading this unless we have something to go with. So that's why the explanation was very
So
helpful.
there isn't anybody up here except for Sharon that has any agricultural background?
Yeah, I think the tough one was the uniqueness, I mean, right? And actually, I can see, if he's got historical buildings, that is unique
Right.
to the property.
That makes the first one very easy. That's the uniqueness to the property.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yep, absolutely.
okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, I think we'll close the public hearing,
Thank you.
unless you want to do more talking, Troy. Okay, we'll close that. Thank you. Okay, any more discussion from you all?
Well, like I say, especially with even that, I think it's a fine use, and I like that the city has something in the ordinance about not for private storage, like, I can't pay him to store my camper there.
Exactly, I mean, that's
He's
a
using it to
rule.
farm.
Yeah, that's a rule. So, actually, Troy and I did work on one of the concepts together a lot, is whether an agricultural building has to be subject to your city's building codes and things, and I've known for a long time that it hasn't. Troy knows it also, and I think that Troy did some more research, actually. And one of the things is you can't use it for personal storage. You can't put your car in that garage. I can't put the car in our shed either, that's.
I appreciate that.
Seems a little extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
well.
know, yeah, that does.
That's the rules. Brian,
I'm still hung up on that uniqueness part. I mean, we're kind of setting precedents here. If these are recommended, he just said he's gonna ask for another 5,000 square foot building a couple of years down the road. I mean,
I don't think he said that, did he?
he said he
Basically,
needed another 5,000
He needed,
square
yeah,
feet. He did not directly state it.
Yeah.
You're right, I misspoke.
yeah. I mean, because it's like whenever, I'm not trying to argue with you, but I'm just gonna interject that, it seems that whenever you build a building, you always need more, 50% more space.
Every
years
garage
down the
I've ever
road,
had.
right?
Yep.
So.
Yep. But I think that if we do recommend it, then that's gonna set precedents for number of buildings and storage, square footage, just, something that needs to be asked for, and it won't be, it couldn't be, denied by council, or by commission if we set precedents with this one. That's what I want us to be wary of.
I disagree about the couldn't deny if we set a precedent, because each situation is unique. And in this case, the historical buildings, that's pretty special and different than any reason I've seen before. So that's unique right there. As far as the square footage, that's why I needed to hear an explanation. In general, I don't like to be restrictive of things that people need to do what they do. And obviously proportion is reasonable. So I was trying to find, well, how do we justify going over that? He explained with the storage of the bales and whatnot, why it needs to be that size. I did not know that just reading what he wrote, but to me, that's a practical use for an agricultural property doing agricultural work. So I don't have a problem with that. All I got.
Add one more thing?
Sure, come on up. I'm gonna reopen the public hearing.
Yeah, I forgot to say that there was a big barn on that property that I tore down, and a big machine shed that's already gone. Now, this heavy snows have taken them down, but, so I guess we're not adding anything else, really. There was more structures on that property
Sure.
to begin with. So,
Like lots of farms.
what's that?
I said like lots of farms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, lots of farms have many different buildings.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna close the public hearing again. And Brian, do you want any more discussion before we take a vote?
No more discussion.
Anybody else want to say anything? No. Do we have a motion on these two variances? Does that, can they both be on one motion, do you think?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve both variances. One for the additional building beyond the fourth accessory structure, and secondly, to approve the requested overage of square feet, adding any staff recommendations pertaining to this.
I
Okay,
second.
great. Okay, all in favor say aye,
Aye.
and opposed?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm abstaining, so there were 3 ayes and 1 no and 1 abstention. Okay, and Troy, this is going to city council on what date, do you know?
Monday, September 8th.
Okay, so there's one more meeting to go to, and this is just a recommendation to the city council, so we don't approve these things or disapprove them, but we, after talking about it, I'll give our recommendation to the city council. Okay, thank you for your patience, and we'll see you soon. Okay. And the next item is another public hearing from Tom Carlisle of Sherco Construction.
This is a public hearing for a rezoning, a PUD or Planned Unit Development Preliminary Plan, and a preliminary plat for Cliffs Anderson Acres, which is a 3-lot subdivision. Tom Carlisle of Sherco Construction has applied for this rezoning, PUD preliminary plan, and preliminary plat for a 3-lot subdivision called Cliffs Anderson Acres, located north of County Road 74 or 217th Avenue. This parcel is currently 20.35 acres. It is zoned and guided rural residential. The properties to the south and west are zoned and guided the same. The property to the north is part of the Gordy Mickelson Wildlife Management Area and is zoned park or natural area. And the properties to the east are part of a subdivision within Linwood Township. This property is within the Significant Natural Environmental Area overlay. This is an overlay district that is applied to properties that have been identified by the Met Council, Anoka Conservation District, and or the DNR as containing native vegetation or natural resources that contribute to the health, welfare, and quality of life for East Bethel residents. You may remember a significant discussion about this as it was presented to the Planning Commission as a concept plan on May 17th, or May 27th, my apologies, and the City Council on June 9th at their meetings. This concept plan received non-binding approval, and the applicant was advised to move forward with the platting process. There are three requests in this application. The first is for a rezoning to the planned unit development overlay. This is required by Section 59 of the zoning ordinance for properties within that SNEA overlay. The second is for the approval of a PUD preliminary plan. This is again required by that same section of code for properties within that overlay. As a reminder, the purpose of a PUD is to allow for flexibility and variation in development standards in exchange for a higher level of design, environmental protection, landscaping, pedestrian access, or anything else. So a higher quality of development in exchange for this PUD. And that third request is for the approval of the preliminary plat. This is required by Section 56 of the zoning code for properties being developed as PUDs. The city has a relatively high level of discretion when it comes to evaluating a rezoning and a PUD. Both must meet the comp plan standards, and the PUD must meet additional standards established within Section 56 of the code. Your packet contains an analysis of each of these standards. A preliminary plat is subject to slightly less discretion. The city must approve the preliminary plat if the proposed plat meets the standards outlined in the city's subdivision and zoning ordinance and the conditions of the preliminary plat approval. If it meets these standards, the city must approve the plat. This is a quick look at the proposed plat. Again, this is for 3 lots, each of which are approximately 6.5 acres, a little bit under that. These lots meet the lot area and width standards established within the code for the rural residential zoning district, along with the overall density requirement of 1 unit per acre for the rural residential land use district as designated by the comp plan. This won't bring us above that 1 unit per 10 acre average throughout the whole city. This plat features 2 drainage basins to address stormwater runoff. The proposed home locations and septic areas meet the setbacks that are required within this zoning district. No new roads are proposed as a part of this subdivision, and each property will be served by individual well and septic. There are also likely no wetlands on the property, though a final determination is required from the TEP, and that is under review at the moment. The city did receive updated materials on August 20th from the applicant. The application has been reviewed by the city engineer and the Anoka County Highway Department. Each have supplied comments on this plat, which are included in your packet and as a part of the resolution. The city has found that this application meets all the standards for a preliminary plat request, though the applicant will need to update plans prior to submitting for a final plat approval if this preliminary plat, PUD, and rezoning are approved. The applicant did submit updated materials on August 20th, so late last week after the packet was drafted, so they are not included. But a preliminary review of these materials has found that the applicant and the development team have met many of the conditions on the draft resolution, such as conditions pertaining to the driveway access, site distances, vehicle maintenance access area, the wetland determination, and the driveway encroachment. Many of these comments are being addressed or have been addressed. It does appear that the applicant will still need to address some of the county's requests for additional right-of-way and an additional easement request for the vehicle maintenance access easement, though staff is confident that the applicant is working towards addressing those and should be able to satisfactorily do that before applying for a final plat. Staff has found that the proposed rezoning to planned unit development overlay is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the proposed planned unit development preliminary plan meets the standards established within the zoning ordinance. Again, an analysis of each of those standards is supplied within your packet. As a reminder, the purpose of a PUD is to, again, allow that flexibility in exchange for a higher level of design. I do want to emphasize here that I think the main thing that we're going to look at with this PUD would be that environmental protection aspect. As staff has reviewed this application, we found that there's a very limited environmental impact associated with this development. It appears that the home pads are placed on land that is already bare agricultural land. There's a small number of trees being removed for the driveways, and there really is a limited site disturbance. That being said, as the Planning Commission, you can impose additional conditions on the approval of this plat pertaining to anything, but specifically in this case, you could impose conditions related to environmental quality. So that might look something like applying conditions related to requiring a certain number of native plantings on the site, though staff has not recommended any specific conditions because, again, we find that the impact is very minimal. Additionally, the applicant is not requesting any PUD flexibility. So the proposed plan meets all of the standards within the zoning ordinance. It just has to go through that PUD step because of that overlay district that's already on it. Staff directs the the Planning Commission to open the public hearing and recommend approval if you find that through the contents of the staff report, public testimony, and other evidence available, that the ordinance to approve the rezoning and the resolution to approve the preliminary PUD plan and preliminary plat for Cliffs Anderson Acres meet the standards for approval. If you do not find that this ordinance and this resolution for the rezoning, PUD preliminary plan and preliminary plat meet those standards, you may recommend denial if you can identify one or more areas of the code that are not being met. Staff does not recommend this option. Any of the resolutions the draft resolutions can be modified to reflect your findings, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Grace. I'm opening the public hearing for this, and if anyone would like to come up to the podium, please do. And Tom, would you mind coming on up? And if you could just please state your name and
Carlisle,
into the microphone, please. Thanks.
Tom Carlisle, Sherco Construction.
Okay. What would you like to tell us that Grace already hasn't said?
Well, like Grace said, we just got a little tree row along the road that we're gonna have driveways in. It's been a cornfield, so we're not disturbing any other trees. The topography works out really good. There's a kind of a natural ridge that runs across there, so we're not doing a bunch of excavating. We've got obviously some drainage ponds and so forth. The wetland delineator didn't find any wetlands, and I think then there was some more questions. Grace can straighten me out on that, and then he answered those, so I don't believe you're gonna find any wetlands. And yeah, I guess it obviously backs up to the Nicholson Wildlife Area, so it should be great.
Okay.
Shouldn't really impede anything.
Okay, before we close the public hearing then, do you people have any questions for Tom? Anybody?
I didn't, or this might probably for Grace rather than Tom, but you mentioned a vehicle maintenance access, and I don't know what that means.
Oh, that's for the stormwater ponds. Basically, those are under the maintenance of the city. So that's easement to allow the city to access those and maintain anything that would need to be accessed. It's very standard for developments. Pretty much everyone has that.
Okay,
No other questions? Well, then I think we'll close the hearing.
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up. Okay, discussion?
To save time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the PUD portion of this.
Fabulous. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, that motion passes. So Tom, so we are recommending that, according to the motion from Mr. Terry, that this be approved and it will go to City Council on September 8th. And again, we're not approving anything, we're just
That was-
recommending. the City
Just to be
Council
clear,
does.
that was just for the PUD. We still have to discuss the preliminary
Preliminary
plat.
There's, okay, I'm so sorry.
And the rezoning by ordinance is also, that needs to be approved with a separate motion too.
Isn't that what the PUD is?
So it's 3 separate applications. The PUD is by resolution, but before you can approve the PUD, you have to approve the rezoning to put that overlay district onto the property. So
I'd like to amend my motion, if it still may, to include the rezoning to PUD overlay.
I just had one question. It said in our engineer report that wetland, what does it say here? Wetland report is incomplete, so you know about that?
yes, that's something that's being addressed. There was, I believe, some photos left out of it
Yeah.
that were needed for completion, but that has, as of this week, been forwarded to a review panel
So that won't
for
affect
review.
our-
So that won't affect it. no.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
I
so-
just wanted to make sure it was
Yeah, it was
taken
my
care of.
understanding that it wasn't quite complete, but they weren't
Okay.
expecting anything.
Sounds good.
Why don't we make a new motion?
All right,
This
I
is why
make a
you were
motion
here.
to approve the rezoning to a plan unit development overlay and to approve the PUD preliminary plan.
I'll
That's-
second that.
Great, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Do you want to put a provision in this about, subject to approval of the wetlands.
I think that's
I-
for the
okay?
I
plat
think it's,
itself.
I'm confident it's covered,
Okay,
according to Grace.
And those have already been included as conditions of approval.
okay, great. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, and that one passes. So again, Tom, that, we're recommending approval of that also.
We're not done though, because that was 2 out of 3.
Oh my gosh,
We didn't do the preliminary plat.
okay.
I
this
just
is-
thought that deserved a separate motion.
Okay, do you want to do one?
Well, if there's no discussion, but there might be, so I left that open. Okay. Sorry to do this way, but anyway, I make a motion to approve the preliminary plat with the recommendations from staff included.
I second.
Fabulous. Any discussion? If not, we will take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that passes unanimously. Okay, any more?
Nope, I'm
This
done.
is why you were here.
That's all
Okay, thank you. And what do we have next? We have a staff update.
Yes, I have 2 quick updates. Last night at the city council meeting, the city approved the hire of a temporary part-time staff member for the community development department.
And I'm so sorry, but that was closing just as, and I didn't hear what they approved.
They approved the hire of a temporary part-time staff member for the community development department. I'm sure some of you are aware that about 90% of the city's property files are paper. So we need some help getting those scanned in and digitized. So this temporary employee will be helping us scan and digitize those files. So it'll not only improve staff efficiency, but also eventually, hopefully, residents will be able to look up their own property files. And that will just boost everyone's ability to access the information that they need without having to go through us as staff. So it's my first update. The second one is that looking ahead to next month, we have at least 1 project, possibly 2 or 3, that will be up for review at the Planning Commission meeting. So expect to be back here on September 23rd. That's all I've got.
Okay. So, and thank you. You did great tonight,
Thank you.
flying solo.
So Grace, I got a question. When we have these and we're having a public hearing on a property like this, do residents, how do they get notified that we're having a public hearing?
Yes, so we publish a hearing notice in the newspaper. I believe it's the Isani Chisago
Yep.
County Star. So those get published there at least 15 days in advance, I believe it is. And then we also mail out public hearing notices to everyone within, it depends on your zoning district, but typically 350 feet of your property lines or 1,200 something feet.
Okay,
So they're mailed out. But that's typically why we set deadlines to get those land use applications, is because as staff, we have to meet our public hearing notice deadlines.
I thought I knew that, but I'm very surprised how few people come, you know, when there's lot splits and different things, because I just thought more neighbors would have input for or against either. I'm not saying either direction, but
When they have issues, they certainly show up.
yeah, but we generally have pretty low, so that's why I was curious if we did actual mailings, but,
Yeah.
but I thought we did, so. All right, thanks.
Any other comments?
No.
Oh, are there any applications for new planning commissioners?
So the term for the new planning commissioner would be up in January of 2026. So I've talked with the city administrator and administrative staff. They can publish for a new planning commissioner. They have not yet, but if you would like me to talk to them about that, I can get that in motion.
What do you guys think?
Who would they be filling the place of?
The last, well, there was,
Eldon? Or, no, Eldon wasn't approved, so
right,
we approved 2.
so it was Gabe
Oh.
and, Gabriel and, Diana. Christine, I don't remember who you replaced. Gabriel, I think.
Don't know.
Yeah, she's in Gabriel's spot, so I'm guessing that's,
Yeah, and Diana kind of quit in the middle of her term.
You're right.
Mhm.
so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Do we
Six.
need another? I mean, how many did we?
7 is what's in our code. I think there are some advantages to having 7 when it comes to, quorum and making sure that you don't have an even number. It's a bit of a problem if you have an even number, but so far you guys have not encountered any difficulties with that, and it's up to you on what you would like to do here.
Yeah, it's mostly the quorum that I worry about, and, as long as we have 4, 2 of us can be gone. Well, 3, right? 2, we have 6, sorry. Farmer math. Okay. Should we just leave it or try to fill it?
Let's try and fill it.
Fill it?
Doesn't matter to me.
It would be nice by the first of the year to have a full quorum. I mean, I don't know if we have to fill it before that, but if we could get 7 starting in 26, I think it'd be nice.
So there seems to be consensus on that. Could you ask him to please post it?
Yes, I will ask that to be posted.
Okay. So then that term would be up
It
in
would be
January?
up come January 31st of 2026, yes.
Okay. All right. Nothing else? Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
That
motion
was a
to adjourn.
motion. Okay,
Second.
great. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.